So CNN is perhaps changing directions here in a pretty stunning way. Take a look at this. Scoop, CNN is going back to a 100% news channel. A good number of the talent and staff will be let go to align to that new mission. David Zaslav vows to be very hands-on and LA-based in running Warner Bros. Discovery. So let me give you some more specifics on this. This actually has to do with a merger. So there's a merger going on behind the scenes involving CNN, and this is the person who will take over soon for CNN. And there's some of the stuff in that tweet goes a little too far, like, oh, most of the people are going to be let go. We don't know that for sure, because the article that he links to does not say that definitively. But what it does say is, when Zaslav is asked, like, okay, what do you make of Fox News and their dominance? He says, I don't think they're a news organization. I think they're an advocacy organization. And what we need to do is get back to a place where we're just reporting facts, like try to take the opinion out of it as much as possible and just report facts. And so this is sort of a pivot back to CNN Classic, if you will. But some of you might not know this. There's this channel called CNN International, which is basically like old school traditional CNN. And they exist, and to my understanding, to my knowledge, their ratings are just as bad, if not worse, than CNN. By the way, their ratings are abysmal. So whether you do it the CNN International way or you do it the CNN way, you're not going to get that many viewers. You're just not. So I think that what they're doing here is trying to make up for the horrendous views, but the path that they're taking is not necessarily going to solve the problem. Now, I will say, substantively, it is a little better. But I think it's actually a misnomer just to say a news organization could be purely factual in every way, shape, and form. That's not possible. Because when they say factual or objective, what they mean is neutral. And those are not the same thing. To be objective and to be neutral are not the same thing. Neutral means you always call a 50-50, you always give both sides. Well, sometimes there are not two sides. You know, the reproduction theory of birth and the stork theory of birth, that's not a 50-50 proposition. One of those things is true and the other one is false. Evolution versus creationism. Creationism just isn't true. If you give both sides of that, you're misleading people. And a lot more things are like that than you think. There are a lot of areas, a lot of issues that have tremendous gray area, but then there's some issues where it's not. It's actually relatively black and white. And so the traditional CNN way of approaching news and politics is, we're going to give you what the Democrats say and what the Republicans say. We're going to try to be above the fray in describing it. And that's viewed as neutral. Recently, they've gone the path of MSNBC. So MSNBC is just rah-rah Democratic Party. CNN has become rah-rah Democratic Party. And Fox News is rah-rah Republican Party. And so what you get is just the partisan wings of American media. You take the political system, the political structure as it exists with the two parties. You have the Democratic wing and you have the Republican wing. So that's not good. That's not healthy. And what you get is endless propaganda. Obviously, what I think is the correct path is, you have to have an ideological framework. You have to be honest about what your biases are up front. But you can have a filter and a perspective, but within that filter and that perspective, you give people as much raw information, data, facts, and objectivity as humanly possible. So it would be great if there was actually, you know, a network out there that was truly like a populist left network that was looking out for everyday Americans, for the working class, and, you know, was calling it as they see it, through a particular lens. Obviously, I'm social democratic or libertarian socialist in my worldview. It'd be nice if you had a network that reflected that, but you're never going to see that in traditional media, and the answer is very simple. The advocacy of the hosts would undercut and undermine any corporation's mission, which is effectively padding their bottom line, making more money, but more importantly, lobbying the government a lot. They all do it. You know, they're all in that elitist cabal. Cabal is maybe a too strong a word when you talk about this, but they're all in that elitist group. They go to the same cocktail parties. You have a bunch of millionaires and billionaires who hobnob together, and they don't want anybody on air who's spitting fire, who's basically saying, raise their taxes. Let's raise their taxes. Let's redistribute that money to the people. Let's create good government programs like universal health care and universal education and universal pre-K. And let's give people paid vacation time. No corporation wants to have a strong advocate of those things on their airwaves. They just don't. And so you're never going to see that. And it's because if you're on the left, if you're actually on the left, you're going to speak truth to power, and that undermines corporate America. And so you're never going to see that model on TV, but, you know, they're trying to go back to what already failed to see if maybe that will help them. Newsflash, it's not going to help you.